Welcome to today's Better Way Thursday workshop, a beginner's guide to LinkedIn. This is not a course for people who've had a LinkedIn profile for a long time and are looking to really enhance and maximize it. This is really a workshop on people who are just getting started, don't know their way around LinkedIn, and are looking to learn what the platform is, how to use it, and how to start building out their professional connections. This is specifically for tech moms or any other emerging professionals who are looking to launch a new career in tech or in other industries where LinkedIn is relevant. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's get started. So I have a lot of women come to me at Tech Moms who, when I start to talk about LinkedIn, they say, I don't do social media. I don't like it. So I'm not going to have a LinkedIn profile. And I just have to tell them it's really not optional. And also, LinkedIn isn't like other social media. I hate social media as well. I really hate Facebook. I don't even have an Instagram. I don't have anything else. The only social media I use is LinkedIn, but it's absolutely essential for me in my career. And for anybody who's launching a career in the tech industry, you're going to find the situation is the same. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about why LinkedIn is so important and why you need to focus your energies in this area as you're looking to launch a new career. So first of all, a lot of women who've been out of the workforce for a while, who have worked in industries where they haven't really had a career, they've had more of a job, or women who've never really started a career in the first place, who haven't worked for a long time in their adult lives. They really lack a professional network. And if you know me, you know that I'm talking about this all the time, that your relationships and your professional network are absolutely the most important thing to your career success. And so I want you to just internalize this. If you're scared, we have other workshops on networking. I talk about this all the time, but LinkedIn is a really essential part of your networking. And so this is the easiest and fastest way as well for you to start building that professional network. Secondly, LinkedIn is really become a must-have in many, many industries. Now, there are absolutely some exceptions to this. You know, if you're a public school teacher, if you're in certain areas of healthcare, other industries, you know, having a LinkedIn is not that big of a deal. In tech, in the world of business, in the world of finance, in so many areas, it is absolutely essential. And honestly, it can never hurt you to have a LinkedIn profile, and no matter what career or industry you're in. But for those of us looking to move into tech, it really is essential. The next thing I want to share with you is that recruiters are using LinkedIn all the time. It is their number one tool for searching and sourcing job candidates. And so if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, you are making yourself invisible to recruiters. But even more than that, if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, when you do send in your resume, when you send in an application for a job, recruiters are going to go look you up. And if you don't have a presence in LinkedIn, it's like you're not a serious professional. It's like you really don't necessarily belong in tech or these industries that we're going into. And so that's another reason why it's super important. The fourth reason why LinkedIn is so important for you is that it is the way that you can control your image and how you're presenting yourself to the professional world. Unlike, you know, your resume or other things that you're sending in. Sometimes you just send that out into the world and you're not sure what people do with it. But LinkedIn is always there. You create your own profile. You can tell the story about your future and what you're looking toward rather than just where you've been in the past. And we'll talk about that a little bit more as we talked about building out your profile. So this is a great way for you to control your story, focus on the things that you want to talk about, and really present the professional persona that you want to share with the world. And finally, we don't talk about this as much, but LinkedIn is a great source of information and knowledge. And as we're moving into a new industry, it can be so powerful for you to learn about jargon, right? Lingo. If you go into a job interview and they're sharing all these acronyms and things like that, and you have no idea what they're talking about, you're going to feel like more of a fish out of the water than you already do. But by being on LinkedIn, seeing what other people are posting, seeing what other people are talking about, reading articles, seeing what what the most important trends and ideas are in the areas that you're looking to work in. It really, really can help you feel more comfortable and ready to be part of this new industry that you're moving into. So today's goal is, first of all, for you to create a good enough LinkedIn profile. And second of all, for you to start working toward your 500 connections. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But when we're talking about this good enough profile, I want to tell you that it can be so easy for you to not want to make your LinkedIn account public, to not want to share your profile, to not want to create it until it's absolutely perfect. This was the way I totally was when I first started using LinkedIn. I created a LinkedIn profile like 8 or 10 years ago. It's been a long time, long before I was ready to go back to work. I was a stay-at-home mom for 15 years, but I knew that this was in my future, and so I wanted to get started with LinkedIn. So I put together a really bare bones profile, didn't have a lot on it, and then I just left it there for like years and years. And it actually was when I got ready to put together these presentations on coaching women on how to use LinkedIn that I was like, I've got to get really serious about my LinkedIn profile. And so I created all these drafts and I wrote these about sections, and I had all these documents and everything that I wanted to do. And still, because they weren't 100% right, because they weren't totally complete, I didn't update my profile. And I have to tell you, the night before I started preparing for this workshop, I just said, I'm going to give myself an hour and I'm going to make my profile as good as I can get it in 1 hour. And that's all the time that I have. And I have to tell you, in 1 hour, it looked great. Like I was putting off forever because I thought, oh, I don't have days and days to devote to this. I actually had a calendar event in my phone that came up once a month that said, update your LinkedIn profile. I never did it. I never did it because I never felt like I had enough time. 1 hour is absolutely enough time for you to get a great LinkedIn profile. Now you can spend all the time you want on it. You can keep updating it. You can keep working on it, but an hour is enough for a good enough profile. So let's remember this great quote from Voltaire: perfect is the enemy of good. Our perfectionism holds us back so often from moving forward and taking a step, but perfectionism never did anyone any good. It doesn't serve us at all. So let's go ahead and move forward. So your top priorities for getting a good enough LinkedIn profile are these 4 areas I've got right here. So we've got the top area, and I'm going to bring up my LinkedIn profile in a minute and we will look at these specifically, but you've got your photo, your banner, and your URL, your headline, your summary, and your experience. Now, there's a lot more to a LinkedIn profile than these 4 things, but this is where we're going to start. And this is where you can focus your energy to have a good enough profile. So I'm going to stop sharing and move back over to actually walk you through my LinkedIn profile so you can see the sorts of things that I'm talking about right here. So let's go up to my profile, and here I am. All right, so the first thing we need to talk about is your photo. Research has shown time and time again that LinkedIn profiles without a photo get way less views, they get way less engagement, they are much less effective than a profile with a photo. And I know that as women, we have been socialized, beaten down about our appearances in a million ways. So I know a lot of women, like I've had so many tech moms send out their LinkedIn profile and they said, this is so against my nature to put this out here. I feel so uncomfortable doing this, but I'm sharing this with you. I just need to tell you, just like you have on your Facebook or your Instagram or whatever, you need a profile. People need to see who you are. So go ahead, grab a professional headshot. You don't need a professional to take it. It just needs to look professional. Most of us have really great cameras on our phones. So get a little bit dressed up, get looking good. You can go outside. You can take this against a nice blank wall, however you want. What you don't want to do is just crop off another picture and just throw it in there. You don't want like half of your husband's head in there, or you like holding your baby in your LinkedIn profile photo. Get a professional looking shot just of you and go ahead and put this on your profile picture. Now, the good news is for tech moms, if you've already been through our program, most of you have a professional headshot already. If you're currently in our program, we take professional headshots at graduation, so you can get a really nice one. But don't wait for that. Have a friend, snap a photo of you right now, and go ahead and get this in your profile picture. Okay, the next area that we've got to work with is right behind the profile picture, and it is this banner area. This is LinkedIn just has a generic picture right there, and you can put anything in here you want. I think it's a waste of space if you don't use this, and it just kind of shows that maybe you haven't given your LinkedIn profile a lot of attention because it's so prominent up at the top. So I have a picture of some of our amazing tech moms at graduation there. You can put anything you want. If you go in and Google LinkedIn banners, you can get designs or different ideas. But if I were you, I'd get something that is related to the industry that you want to go in, related to something in tech. It can be a picture. You can take this picture of tech moms and throw it on there. You can take a picture of you and your other classmates in class. Whatever you want. You can have a picture of computers or anything, but just give a sense of what you're about, what your priorities are, what your values are. This banner is just a little extra real estate for you to talk about what matters to you. So the next thing I want to show you is this up in the right-hand corner. There is a link that says edit your public profile and URL. And if you go ahead and click on this, you can see at the top of this page that it shows your LinkedIn URL. This is the address that takes you directly to your LinkedIn profile. So mine just says linkedin.com/in/Robbyn Scribner, my own name. Your default profile is going to be some variation of your name with a lot of other characters after it. LinkedIn just creates this. It creates millions and millions of profiles. So it has all these characters that you don't need. But you can make your public profile your own, and I mean your URL your own, and get all that gobbledygook out of there. So I recommend you just go in and you can, I have an unusual name, my first name and my last name. So I was able to just get Robbyn Scribner as my URL. If your name is Jane Smith, that will be harder for you, but you can add some numbers. You could write Jane Smith programmer, Jane Smith software student, whatever you want. Now I wouldn't do something like student because this could be a long-term profile name. So use something that you'd be happy to have on there for a long time, but you can use some numbers or whatever. You're going to use your LinkedIn profile on your portfolio. You're going to have it on your resume. You're going to have it in other places. So it's nice to have a simple and streamlined URL there to use. Okay, and then the last thing we're going to talk about down here is our I want to show you something about your availability. And this is a trick that I learned from a webinar that I watched on LinkedIn, but you can see right here, show recruiters that you're open to work. So if you click on this button, it brings up some windows and gives you some options. Let's see. Okay, hopefully it shows up here on your screen. But it says, tell us what kind of work you're open to, where you are open to working, what location you want, if you're immediately looking or casually browsing. And then down here at the bottom of this pop-up window, it says choose who sees you're open, right? Now there are two ways this can happen. If you click on the top button there, it says all LinkedIn members. This includes recruiters and people at your current company. So if you're not working or if you're openly looking for a new job, it's fine to click this button. It puts a green open to work banner around your face. And LinkedIn says that people who have this banner up and who click this button get more views from recruiters. They get more traffic to their profile. Some people don't love that because they feel like it shows a sign of desperation. I think that's dumb, but you decide what's right for you. But anybody can click this bottom link, and then only recruiters and people using LinkedIn recruiters, the LinkedIn recruiter tool, get to see that you're open to work. And it says that they take steps not to show recruiters at your current company, but they can't guarantee your privacy 100%. So if you think it would be the end of the world if people at your current job knew that you're looking for work, you don't want to do this. But for most of us, having this little button clicked is really, really valuable because it makes your profile more visible to recruiters. So we've talked about our photo, banner, URL, and we've talked about how we can show that we're open to work. Now let's focus a little bit, shift our focus and talk about our headline. This is the area right below our name. And This is, again, really, really important real estate. What a lot of people do with this headline is they just put their current job title. So that's what I had when I was at my last job. I was the assistant director of the Utah Women in Leadership Project, and that's what I had as my headline. And then I had my location and things like that. But actually, what I learned by watching this other webinar on LinkedIn, which I will link to that webinar for all of you, so you can take a look at it when you're ready for LinkedIn 201 or LinkedIn 301. But you actually have a lot of characters here to work with. You can see that my headline is quite long, but when recruiters and other people are searching in their own LinkedIn, your headline is the first place that those search bots go look, right? And so you want to make sure that you get as many keywords into your headline as you possibly can based on what types of roles and jobs you're looking for. So you can see my headline in here. I've got career consultant, speaker, author, researcher, trainer, career development, DEI, women's empowerment. I've got strengths trainer. I have my current title, but it also that title tells you a lot about who I am. So I want you to take a look at that and really think through what you'd want to put in your LinkedIn profile. Now, in your headline. I know a lot of you are thinking like, I'm just barely getting started. I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't have a job. I've worked, at Applebee's, and I don't want to put server at Applebee's here. That's okay. This, again, your LinkedIn profile is looking forward toward where you want to go next. So you definitely have your past experience in there and your accomplishments and the things that you've done. But this headline is a place for you to say, this is what I want to do next. This is the person that I am becoming, right? This is the career that I'm moving into. And so it's very appropriate to say, you can put tech mom in there, current student at Tech Moms. You can put in there, you can put in emerging software developer, software development in training. You can put UX professional. Go ahead and, even if you're working on something, you're still a software tester in embryo. So go ahead and put those things there. You want to focus your headline on the direction and area where you want to go next. You can see some other aspects up here. I've got my current, and this will show you in your LinkedIn. So if you have any job experience in there, it will show you what your current job is and what your education came from. So I want to go down a little bit further to my summary section. You can see these other things here. I'm not going to spend time on this today. This is more in-depth LinkedIn stuff, but you can take skill quizzes. You can check out your analytics and how often people are looking at you, other things like that. I want to focus on this about section. This is a summary section for your LinkedIn. Now you can see my summary section is not much of a summary. It is a very long. That's because after searching your headline, your summary section is the second place where the LinkedIn search algorithms search for keywords. So it does not hurt you to have a long summary section. You saw that I clicked it open. Like if someone's just looking at your profile, it's not going to all show up. It's only the first few sentences that show up. So make those first few sentences count. Put your most important part of your summary there. Now, I've checked out a lot of other people's LinkedIn profiles. There are tons of very successful professionals working in all different industries that have a very short summary section. That's totally okay. This does not need to be long. Trina, our other Tech Mom founder, has a short summary section, and she's one of the most, successful, long tenured career tech professionals out there. So you don't need to make this long, but this is an opportunity for you to tell your story. So just like anything else, I would put the most important information up front, but feel free to go ahead and put in a bunch of keywords in here. You can see down here in this paragraph, my second to last paragraph, I have a bunch of keywords in there of the workshops that I like to teach, the training that I like to do. So I have a lot of that information in there and other things about myself. So again, limit yourself to an hour. You can do an hour for your whole profile, but don't say, I'm not going to turn on my LinkedIn profile until this is absolutely amazing and I've got everything and we're all perfect. Just take the time that you've got, take a few minutes, write something down, and just know there's a little edit pencil up here at the top. You can go back in and fix it anytime, but this is a great place for you to tell your story a little bit about where you've been, but mostly about where you're going and how you plan to get there. All right, and then we are followed these other things. There's a feature thing here. So if you have any web pages, any links that really tell, like if you have a blog, or I know that lots of people don't have blogs anymore, but if you have other things that relate to your professional life and where you want to go next, you can feature them here. And then this is your activity. But let's go down to this experience section. This is the last section we're going to worry about today. So you really can, if you want to, just copy and paste your resume into this LinkedIn section. Just so you know, when you type in the name of a company, any company that is on LinkedIn will have like its logo there. So it looks a little bit more professional. If you're just typing in like Joe's Cafe or wherever you're working and they don't have a LinkedIn presence, it just brings up a generic LinkedIn icon. But any company that has a LinkedIn profile, it would bring up their logo. So click on that. It looks a little bit nicer. Okay, you can see this generic icon that it has right here. So I would say in this place, you put your current role if you have one, your tenure there, and it requires you to put in all this information. And you can see that I've got some bullet points just like I would have on a resume. Some people do it this way. Other people just choose to write it more in professional language, like to do a short. You actually had to mess around with the bullets. It's not really like easily formatted. I had to like copy and paste in bullets because I wanted it to be a bullet format. But you could just write in a short couple of sentences. This is the work that I did at this company. This is what I did in my job. This is what I accomplished. Now we have a whole other workshop on writing a resume for relaunchers. It's with Angela Ashurst McGee from Red Rocket Resume. It is excellent. I absolutely recommend you go watch that workshop to really get into the details of making your resume fantastic. And then once it's fantastic, you can copy and paste it here. But don't let having a crappy old resume hold you back from getting your LinkedIn profile. You really can just put in a couple of sentences for each of your jobs. You also don't need to list every job that you've ever had in this LinkedIn profile. You can list a couple of relevant jobs, a couple of relevant experience. They don't even need to be paid jobs. If you've got volunteer work or other things that you've done that's relevant to where you're going next, go ahead and put those in here. You can list that as volunteer if you want to. The most important thing for you to do in this experience section is highlight the skills, experiences, and achievements that you have that are relevant, again, to where you are going next. So even if you've got all these skills and areas that you're leaving behind, you can go ahead and mention them, especially if they're awesome and outstanding, you've done great work, but I want you to focus your energies on what I'm doing next. So if you had any experience with data management, if you had any experience fixing up a website, if you had any experience doing any of those things that are relevant to your next steps, highlight those and make those the most prominent parts of your experience section. I think that's all I need to say about that. We move down a little bit here to your education. If you have a college degree, go ahead and put it here. I even listed my high school in case anybody wanted, any Bulldogs from Provo High wanted to connect with me on LinkedIn. I don't think that's necessary or even something you need to worry about. You can also put Tech Moms in here on your education section. We have a little blurb about Tech Moms. We've got it in the Slack channel that it just gives you don't have to write it yourself. It just talks about what Tech Moms is and what you accomplished there. So go ahead and put Tech Moms in there. If you don't want to put it in your education section, you can put it in your skills section. You can put it in other information, whatever you want. So I think that's all I wanted to show you right now about getting your good enough profile. Now, I will link some resources in the YouTube channel with this workshop. There are thousands of articles out there that you can go read on making the best LinkedIn profile, on maximizing your LinkedIn profile, on using it to earn you $1 million and get you the best jobs in the world and things like that. If you've got time for that, go check them out. I will share a few good ones with you, especially those that are focused on career reentry or career transition. There can be some good tips, but really, this is good enough. What I've just shown you is enough for you to start sharing your LinkedIn profile, making it public, and connecting with people. And that is the most important thing that you're going to be doing with LinkedIn. And so I want to encourage you not to wait and not to spend all this time trying to make it perfect, but to really dive in there. So I'm going to go back to my slides now and move ahead to our next slide. So Now we're going to talk about getting to 500 connections. I should have moved away from LinkedIn. I don't want to go back to this because I want to stay on my slides. But just when you notice, think back and go look at your own LinkedIn profile or anybody else's LinkedIn profile. Right underneath your name, it lists the number of connections that you have. So if you've got a brand new LinkedIn profile, it will say 1 connection. Or it can say 0 connections, and then it will say 1 connection. I have to tell you, I'm very proud that I have been many, many people's very first LinkedIn connection. If you are just creating your own LinkedIn profile, if you haven't done it yet, please connect with me. I will love to be your first LinkedIn connection. So on LinkedIn, for whatever reason, they decided that 500 was this kind of magic number. And if you have any number of connections up to 500, it will say the exact number of connections. You have 64 connections, you have 222 connections. Once you get to 500 connections, it says 500 plus connections. So if you have 501, or if you have 30,000, which is the maximum number of connections you can have on LinkedIn, it says 500 plus connections. So there are a couple of reasons why you want to get to that 500 plus number. I'm actually going to move back here. The first is that it shows that you are an established working professional. So, I notice, and this is an unconscious, well, it's a conscious bias because I know about it. It is an unwelcome bias on my part. But when I connect with somebody on LinkedIn and I see that they've got 320 connections or whatever, I think, oh, either this is a new professional or this is someone who doesn't care about LinkedIn and isn't very active on this platform. And actually, it does give me a sign. Oh, if I'm going to try to reach out to this person through direct messaging, they're probably not going to see this because I think they never get on LinkedIn. Once someone is at that 500 connections, I don't notice it at all. Now you'll see there's some other things there next to it. You might see with a lot of people, it shows how many followers they have. Anybody can have followers. Most people just use connections, not followers, although there are a lot of people. I think you can set up your own profile to say, invite people to follow me instead of connecting with me. We can talk about that a little bit later. I think it's a better idea for you to connect with people than to just invite people to follow you. So we want to get to that 500 number, and that way it just stops from being a distraction and stops making people who are into LinkedIn and really notice this say, oh, she's either really new to the industry or she's not that serious about LinkedIn. So here is how you get started with getting your 500 connections. I have to tell you, I know that it feels daunting. I know that it feels really overwhelming. For those of you that are just getting started in your career, you're like, I literally don't know 500 people. How in the world? And most of them are children, like they're not all going to be on LinkedIn. How in the world am I going to get to 500 connections? I promise you, it is possible. I have so many tech moms who started with no LinkedIn profile, got on it, used the steps that we're talking about now, and within a few months, they were to 500 connections. Here's the thing about LinkedIn, and actually all professional networking of any kind, is that it is exponential. So your first 500 connections are going to be hard. Your next 500 connections are going to be much easier. And this is because the more people you're connected to, the more people see your posts, they see your feed, you are connected to their friends. There's a networking principle called the strength of weak ties. And that really emphasizes the fact that networking is this interconnected web. And all your friends and relatives people that you know, they might not be in a really great place to help you get a job because they may know all the same people you do and they're working in the same area and they've all been stay-at-home moms, or they all just, are doing different things. But they know people that can help you. And so those are your weak ties, but your weak ties can actually help you move forward in your career. So luckily, because you're part of this Tech Moms community, this is much easier than if you were starting from scratch on your own. So an easy place for you to start is just start with the Tech Moms community. We actually are at 300 plus women in our Tech Moms community now, not to mention the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of supporters and sponsors and partners and all these other people that we've got. So really, if you just connected with people that were connected to Tech Moms, you could get to 500 pretty quickly. But you can easily get to your first 100 without too much trouble. You reach out to your own cohort, you reach out to the other cohorts, you put it out in the alumni channel and the general channel there on Slack, and you can get to a lot of connections quickly. We're actually going to build up. I think a Google Doc, we eventually will have it on our website, like through a student portal, but we're going to put together a Google Doc where people can just share their LinkedIn profile and say, anybody who's part of Tech Moms, please reach out to me and connect with me. Okay, that's going to get you pretty far and much easier than just starting like staring at your hands and saying, how in the world am I going to get to 500 connections? The next place you want to start is with your own contacts. Now, let me give you a warning. Within LinkedIn, that like when you start your own profile, it will say, do you want to send an invitation out to your contacts to see if they want to join LinkedIn? And I clicked yes when I first was setting up my LinkedIn profile. This was actually, ironically, I was showing someone else how to set up their LinkedIn profile. And I said, why don't we just click on this? I thought it was going to give me like the opportunity to choose my contacts one by one. No, it went into my Google contacts and sent a LinkedIn invitation to literally everyone who was in my contacts, including like my son's soccer coach, this old neighbor that I had from a million years ago, like all this stuff. I do not recommend that. There are a lot of people that are not on LinkedIn, are not interested in that, and it's just kind of embarrassing and kind of a mistake. So don't click the button that says yes, automatically connect with everyone in my contacts for LinkedIn. What you should do instead is go through your own contacts, look on your phone, look in your email, and see the people that you want to connect with. A lot of your contacts will not have a LinkedIn profile. That's fine. You don't need to invite them to start LinkedIn. They can be on their own journey, but you will be connected with lots of people who already are on LinkedIn. Now, as you get more established in your career a little further down the road, you may decide that you want to keep your LinkedIn connections more closely related to the industry that you're working in. My husband has 15,000 LinkedIn connections. He's a LinkedIn maniac. He's been doing it for a long time and very aggressively connecting with people on LinkedIn. And at this stage in his career, he's like, I only connect with people who I either know personally pretty well, I want to help them out with their careers, or people who are directly in my industry and can help me out. I think when you're getting started, you don't need to be that exclusive. You don't need to be that discriminating. Go ahead and connect with anybody who's got a LinkedIn profile, anybody that you know. That means like your neighbor who's a lawyer, your neighbor who's a real estate, your neighbor who's a dentist, whatever, because they are people that can help you build up those connections. And you never know, in the future, your dentist might not ever want to give you a job, but your dentist might be married to someone who wants to give you a job, or otherwise connected to someone who wants to give you a job. And again, that's the exponential power of LinkedIn, because as you start doing your searches, you will see not only your first connections, your first level connections, the people that you are immediately connected to, but in many cases, it's easy to see your second level connections. So the more people that you're connected with, you see the people that they're connected with, and your own network begins to expand and grow. So let's talk about that a little bit more as we looked at this next bullet point, which is leveraging super connectors. So I am a super connector. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I connect with a lot of people, and I'm using it all the time. So every single person who is watching this workshop, who's involved with Tech Moms, or if you just found this another way and you're watching this to learn more about LinkedIn, you can connect with me. If I don't already know you, send me a message that says, hey, I watched your webinar on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with you. I will be happy to accept that connection. And then you will see the things that I am sharing on LinkedIn, and you will also see the things that people are sharing that I'm commenting on, engaging with, getting involved with. It is easier to connect with someone who's a second level connection of yours than somebody that you don't have a close connection with. So I want you to leverage super connectors. Reach out to Trina Limpert, our other Tech Moms co-founder. She is also a super connector. Every post that Trina has up on LinkedIn gets thousands of views. It gets hundreds of likes and engagement. It gets tons of comments. Trina is super, super active on LinkedIn, doing it all the time. So connect with Trina, connect with Mikkel, our third co-founder, connect with the other members of the Tech Moms team, connect with our guest speakers and our sponsors and other people. You will find that many, many working professionals in tech are very active on LinkedIn. By connecting with them, you are growing and expanding your network. So let me tell you a little bit how this works. If you see a post that I put on LinkedIn and I'm talking about Tech Moms, which is the main thing that I talk about on LinkedIn, you will start to see comments and engagements from other people, right? These are people who know me, but also care enough about Tech Moms to want to either like my post or engage with my post by making a comment. So you can go into the posts that I have made and start going down those lists of people. You can see the people who have commented on my post. you can then go ahead and leverage the fact that I'm a super connector and start reaching out to them. Most of these people are people who want to nurture and support emerging talent in tech. Okay, not everyone will accept your connection. That's okay. But if you reach out with an personalized invite, and just say a note and say, hey, I saw your comment on Robbyn Scribner's post. I'm also a tech mom. I'm trying to build my network. I'd love to connect with you. I think that most people would happily accept that connection. That is one way to get started. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more. But this is a way that you leverage connecting with super connectors. So I've just given you the names of, I wouldn't call Mikkel a super connector, but she's working on it. She's a little more of an introvert than Trina and I are, but she's actually super active on LinkedIn. So let's go ahead and say all three of the Tech Moms founders are super connectors. There's actually a bunch of other tech moms who are killing it on LinkedIn after doing the program, starting their own account. They're writing content all the time. They're sharing great ideas. So find those tech moms that are really active on LinkedIn and make sure you're engaging with them. Then the fourth thing that you can do to get started is identify companies and roles where you think you might want to work eventually, and go look up people. And if whatever company they're at, if they're working at Divvy, if they're working at Lucid, if they're working at Domo, if they're working at Adobe here in Salt Lake City, I would focus your energies. If you're reaching out to people that you don't know, I would start your energies closer to home, and then send a personalized invite. Just like I said, I'm in the Tech Moms program. I'm transitioning into the tech industry. I'm trying to build my professional network. I'd love to connect. If you say something like that, most of the people that you reach out to will accept your invitation. LinkedIn does have some safeguards on it to keep people from like massively spamming everyone. And so occasionally people, you can flag someone if they connect with you. You can say, I don't know this person or whatever. LinkedIn used to really say only connect with people that you know. That is a legacy. No one is doing that anymore. I get invitations every single day from people that I do not know. LinkedIn has started to recognize people are connecting with people that they don't already know in order to build their networks, and that's okay. If you send that personalized invite, most of the time you are going to get the acceptance. And if you don't, a lot of people don't go on LinkedIn. Even if they've got 500 connections, they're not going to see it. It's no big deal. They're going to ignore it. Don't worry about it. You keep moving ahead. So now we're going to step it up a little bit and take this to getting to 500 2.0, let's call it. So once you've started with the people that you already know, you started with the tech moms, you're leveraging the super connectors, you're ready to start moving out on your own. The first and easiest way to do this is engaging with content that you like. So you're going to see a lot of people sharing stuff that you love. The way the LinkedIn algorithm works is if someone shares a post and people comment on it right away, more people see it. So LinkedIn kind of controls a post, and then if people comment quickly, then it shows it to more people, it shows it to more people, and it spreads like that. So you are doing someone a favor by commenting on their post. Now, you don't want to say something stupid, you don't want to be a troll, but I recommend, like, even if you say, I love this post, right? That's okay. But it adds a little bit more value if you say something about it. Like, oh, I really agree with you on this idea. This is what I've seen in my own career, or I've been through this experience and I can tell you it's terrible. You know, just adding a little bit more value is a great way to engage with content you like. If you just like it, if you want to celebrate it, just like Facebook and I don't know, other social media, I'm guessing it has different options. You can like something, you can love it, you can celebrate it, you can support it, you can be curious about it. I can't remember the other one, but anyway, so there are different ways to engage with something. I like and celebrate posts on LinkedIn all day long because I truly do like and celebrate what's happening with my LinkedIn connections. So that's the first way. And then what you'll often find is once you engage with somebody's content, they'll reach out to you and say, hey, thanks so much for your comment. I'd love to connect. And you're like, that's amazing. Someone just reached out to me and wanted to connect with me. But the other thing you can do is, because a lot of people are busy and they're not looking to build their connections because they've already got 5,000 and they're working on other things, is after you engage with someone's content, you can reach out and connect with them and say, hey, I love that post. I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn. I do that all the time to people. That's one of the ways that I have started connecting with more people that care about the same issues, topics, industries, themes that I care about, is because I've engaged with their content and it's content that I like. So how are you seeing other people's content? It's because they have been liked or shared or engaged with by the people that you're already connected with. That's why building out your own connections gives you more content in your feed that you're going to like and appreciate. Another way you can do this, and I don't know if I talk about this later in the presentation, but another thing you can do is you can follow influencers, you can follow famous people, and then you'll see cool content, and then you can share their content, right? So I follow Melinda Gates, I follow Brene Brown, I follow people who are saying things that I really like and interested in. And when Brene shares a really great post, because I'm following it, I see it in my feed, and then I can go ahead and share that and say, isn't Brene amazing? We all worship her, which I totally do. She is amazing. So that's the sort of thing. So that's an easy way for you to create your own content. If you're scared to do it and create something totally original quite yet, you can share other people's content. You can share the Tech Moms content. You can share Trina's content. You can share my content. You can share the content from other Tech Moms graduates or some of our guest speakers. It also benefits people when their content is shared by other people. So engage with content that you like. The more that you like posts, the more that you comment on posts, the LinkedIn algorithms are pretty smart, and they will start putting more of that kind of content into your feed. Okay. And that is a way for you to start engaging with more people. You can also connect with the 10 other people that made a comment on that post along with you and say, oh, I noticed that we both really liked Robbyn's comment about Tech Moms, or I see that you're a supporter of Tech Moms. I'd love to connect, right? The second thing that I want to emphasize is that it is so important to be genuine. You don't want to reach out to someone like, let's use a give first mentality. I know that it can kind of feel like we're trying to focus this all on us. We're trying to build up our own connections, but really all professional networking is just helping each other out, right? So you want to be genuine, and you don't want to like have a give me mentality. So you don't want to connect with someone and then they say, oh, great, I'm happy to connect with you, and then write them back immediately and say, hey, can you help me get a job at your company? Like, that's not cool. Don't do that. Find a ways to start engaging with people. If you actually connect with a bunch of people and you're seeing all their information in your feed, you're going to see them pretty soon share, hey, we're hiring at my company. Let me know if you want more information. That's the time when you reach out and say, I'd love more information about that job. Can you tell me more? Right. But start to build a relationship. Even though these people are strangers, you can build this relationship by reading their content, seeing what they're doing, just making that tentative first connection before you're asking for anything. The next thing that you do, and I originally, this is the second time I filmed this workshop. I did it a while ago, and I've redone it because I had some sound issues. But when we first did this, we were in the hairy days of COVID-19 and unable to have many in-person get-togethers, but that is changing a little bit. We now have in-person meetups with Tech Moms. We are sharing all the time on our Slack channel and our Facebook group, networking events. So you absolutely, whenever you're meeting someone in real life, you want to connect with that person in LinkedIn. Anytime you're making a professional connection with someone. There's a way to do it really easily on your phone. I encourage you to have the LinkedIn app on your phone once you get your profile up and running. Hit me up if you don't know how to connect with people directly on LinkedIn on your phone. It's very easy. But as you're meeting people in real life at any event you're going to, you want to connect with them on LinkedIn. That is another way to start building out your contacts. It is a fantastic way to get to know people and to be building relationships. So I highly recommend that you get out to real in-person events and start connecting with those people. And that is a topic for other webinars. That is something I'll be preaching about all day long. But as you're doing that, convert those people to also LinkedIn contacts. Your relationship will strengthen so much. And I've told this story many times. Tech Moms exists because of LinkedIn. Mikkel and Trina found each other because Mikkel was reaching out saying, who should I talk to about helping women get into tech? And people who knew of Trina and her presence on LinkedIn connected Mikkel to Trina and said, you guys should talk about Tech Moms. And then Trina and I met on LinkedIn. I just saw her content. I did exactly the thing I just mentioned to you. I said, you're always talking about women. I'm always talking about women. I totally want to meet you. We went out to lunch. And then later I joined her and Mikkel and we founded Tech Moms. And there are thousands of companies, businesses, jobs, organizations, nonprofits that have started because of the power of LinkedIn connection. So take those real life contacts to LinkedIn, and eventually you'll take your LinkedIn contacts to real life like I did with Trina and meet people and start something cool. So the last thing I want to mention here is that you start where you are. In this moment, many of you are looking for a new job, you're looking for a career transition, but don't Limit your networking only to when you need something. That is a way to, that is the opposite of being genuine in your networking. I promise you, if you will keep your LinkedIn connections, your LinkedIn activity, your networking of all different kinds, if you will keep that active all the time, your professional life will be so much more successful. So start where you are right now. The second best time to plant a tree is today. If you didn't build your LinkedIn profile 5 years ago and get started today. But then even once you've got your new job, even once you think, oh, I'm going to stay here for about 5 years, I don't need to worry about this. Don't stop doing LinkedIn. Don't start networking. Don't stop networking. Keep it going always, and always find ways to give back to other people, support other people as much as you're looking for help. Those are the ways the strongest relationships are formed and the ones that are going to bring the most value to you. So as you're doing this, as you're looking at LinkedIn, as you're reading through your feed, I want you to keep this goal in mind. How can I connect with people who can help me take my next steps? So you need to know what your next steps are. And for a lot of us, that's confusing and still a mystery. But the fact that you're here watching this means that you have a general sense of what you're looking for. Another thing that I didn't even mention that I should have is LinkedIn has tons of groups that you can join that are open to the public. So start searching LinkedIn groups, get some keywords: women in tech, women software developers, tech. You don't need to just specify women, even though women's groups on LinkedIn are really cool. If you know you're going into UX or cybersecurity, I'm part of a group for recruiters. I'm part of a group for remote workers. I'm part of a group for women interested in women in leadership. There's a Tech Moms page that you can follow. So following pages, following companies, joining groups, these are all other ways for you to connect with more people that can help you take your next steps. So go ahead and check those things out. So as we leave today, I want you to set some small goals. And let's say this is going to be over the next month. All right. So think I've got 4 weeks. I've got 4 goals, but you don't have to wait 4 weeks. You can start doing all of these right away. So first of all, I want you to create a good enough profile. I would love for you to do that this week. Set yourself a deadline. Find yourself 1 hour, at the max 2 hours. You can get this done and get that profile ready to go, because you can't connect with people on LinkedIn if you don't have a LinkedIn account, if you don't have your own profile. And really, as you're getting ready to start looking for jobs, again, it's absolutely essential. So give yourself this week the time to get a good enough profile. The week after that, now this will take longer than a week probably, but I want you to make your next goal to get to 100 connections, okay? We're not at 500 yet, but I'm guessing if you're working through Tech Moms, you can get to your 100 connections in a month. Plenty of Tech Moms have done it. I was just at Silicon Slopes the other day. One of my Tech Moms sent me a text with a picture, a screenshot of her LinkedIn profile saying that she got to 500, and she was so excited. Now, it took her a little while, but you can get there. Start with the first 100. Every connection you have makes it easier to get the next ones. That grows and grows. The next step I want you to take is become active on LinkedIn. This is the only way to really make use of this really incredible platform. When I first started using LinkedIn, I really thought of it as a glorified Rolodex. I don't know if you know what a Rolodex is. If you're young, you probably don't, but it was like this old thing that had all these business cards in it. It was a way you kept track of your professional contacts before we had phones, right? That's what I thought LinkedIn was. I thought it was a way to keep track of my professional contacts. I didn't recognize that LinkedIn is actually so much more than that. Now, it can be that. It can be an address book. There are tons of people whose email addresses and phone numbers I do not have. I communicate with them regularly by direct messaging them on LinkedIn. So it absolutely can be a way of keeping track of your contacts, but it can be so much more than that. So once you've got your profile going, even before you've got your 100 or 500 connections, I challenge you to spend at least an hour on LinkedIn every single week. If you have the app on the phone, on your phone, I encourage you to spend at least 10 minutes on LinkedIn every day. We all have at least 10 minutes. We're looking at our phones all day long. There's tons of research. We look at our phone like 7 hours a day. You can spend 10 of those minutes a day on LinkedIn, scrolling through your profile, connecting with people if you like their content, liking someone's content, engaging, leaving a comment, and things like that. The only way you're going to build out your LinkedIn profile is being active on it every day. So I think 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day is better than an hour a week. But if you'd rather do it an hour a week, go ahead and do it. Set a time in your calendar to spend that hour a week. And then finally, I want you to start leveraging your network. Now, we talked about being a giver to your network, and that is super important. But once you're getting this network established, I want you to leverage me, right? I want you to reach out to me and say, Robbyn, I just saw a job opening at Awardco. I'd really love to apply. Do you know anyone at Awardco? I'm going to tell you that between the Tech Moms team, the founders, the trainers, and actually the Tech Moms community, the women in the alumni channel, we know people at like all the big tech companies, all the mid-sized tech companies across the state of Utah, and actually tons of small companies, right? So anytime you're applying for a job, put that note in the channel, reach out and say, do you know someone at this company? I'd love for any advice I can get. Now, we can't necessarily like call up the recruiter and say, hey, give this person a job, right? We may just be casually connected to someone, but what I will always do anytime I'm connected with anyone, I do this probably 10 times a week, is as I send a note to whoever I know at that company and say, hey, one of my tech moms named Jane Smith just applied to this role. If you have any leverage or influence, I'd love you to put in a good word for her. That's all I do. I do it all the time. I think it's helpful. I think it helps your resume and your application rise a little bit above the pile. As I've said already like 5 times in this workshop, your network is absolutely critical to your success. I had a tech moms in our very first group who was really motivated to get a job. And she called me one day and she was really discouraged. And she said, I've applied for 100 jobs and I don't have a job yet. And I said, guess what? That's not the right way to go about this, right? She'd had gone to 100 job openings on the online portal and just sent in her resume. So she'd spent, 5 minutes per application, but she hadn't yet figured out and learned how to do the hard work of leveraging her connections to finding her way into better roles. And once she started building out, she was one of our LinkedIn superstars from the very beginning, got to 500 connections quickly. She's active on LinkedIn. It has opened a world of opportunity for her. Once she started doing that, she found a job relatively quickly. It's been a job that has brought so much success and blessings into her life. So the last note that I want to say is for those of you watching this, and I say those of you, not those of us who are introverts, because I'm absolutely not an introvert. I'm the total opposite. I'm an extreme extrovert. I know as you're watching this, it can feel so scary and daunting. And say it's so easy for Robbyn to say this. She loves meeting new people. She loves connecting with people. I'm like April Ludgate from Parks and Rec. I hate all people, right? If you feel that way, I want to tell you that I'm sorry, but it doesn't matter. You need to do it anyway. And actually, networking through LinkedIn is much easier for introverts than networking in person because you don't have to think on your feet. You can take a little time. You can compose a short introductory note. You can do whatever you want. And so even if you're an introvert, even if you don't want to connect with people, if you want to build a successful career in tech, this is a really important step for you to take. So I want to encourage you to do it. I know that you can do it. I believe in you. And if you need help, all you need to do is reach out and help. So I'm going to put into the YouTube box. I don't really know how it works. I'll figure it out. Some resources and some articles. As I mentioned at the beginning, I've got Career Contessa on here. She has a really fantastic webinar on LinkedIn that goes much more in depth than I've gone today. So if you've already got a great LinkedIn profile, you've been using LinkedIn for 3 years and you're ready to take it to the next level, I totally recommend that webinar. I will link to that in the show notes as well. I sound like a podcast. I know this isn't a podcast. I'll link it somewhere on the YouTube. Career Contessa has tons of great career information anyway. Highly recommend that you follow their newsletter. They send stuff out all the time. But the most important resource you have, as always with most things, is just Google. Like Google, what are the best keywords to put into my LinkedIn profile if I want to become a software developer? What are the best keywords to put in there if I want to become a UX designer? How do I make a LinkedIn headline that doesn't stink? Like just start Googling questions. You will find a million articles, a million resources. And then as I mentioned before, Red Rocket Resume is one of our partners. If you go to their website, they have information articles on LinkedIn. They're really great. We've got other resources too. So just know that we have information that you can find if you're still feeling stuck, if this workshop didn't give you quite as much information as you needed, but honestly, I just start with Google and see what you can find there. So I want to give you one final note as we close. This is one of my favorite quotes. And again, sometimes as we're focusing on our own career transition, as we're doing here in Tech Moms, it feels easy to think that we are always in a position of needing stuff and saying, give me, help me. But I want you to recognize that more than anything else, tech moms and the broader tech community in Utah, and even more broadly, I'm connected with people all over the world. This is a community where we help each other out. And every time you connect with someone on LinkedIn, when you reach out to another tech mom, you're not just helping yourself, you're helping her out, right? As you comment on other people's LinkedIn posts, you are helping them gain more followers, you're helping engage with the content. Better yet, ask a question, start a dialogue, right? You're helping to drive the conversation. So just recognize that we're in this together and we want to support and help each other as much as we can. All right. So thee lift me and I'll lift thee and we'll ascend together. So thank you so much. I've got my LinkedIn profile here. You can just search me on LinkedIn. It's Robbyn Scribner. Please reach out and connect with me if you're not already. If you've got questions, you can just connect with me and then message me on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope you have a fantastic week.